Hello, it's the Friday Talkie. Tag time. Now, I quite often reply to tags, but I've never actually done one of my own before, so this is going to be my first tag video. It's an open tag. Yeah, I can't be asked to tag specific people, because invariably I end up tagging people who don't want to be tagged, or just plain don't respond to them. So, open tag. Anyone who wants to respond can respond. I'm also going to answer my own questions. I mean, initially I was just going to talk about the subject, and then I thought, well, why don't I make it into a tag? So here it is. It's an arcade tag. Question 1. What was your first experience of an arcade? Mine was, I'm not sure if it was on a pier in the Isle of Wight, or if it was a fairground at Toaster. I would have been very, very young. Back then the arcades were mostly, well, they weren't video games, obviously. This was like early 70s, but there were penny slot machines, you know, one-arm bandits. You put in 2 pence and pulled a lever, and they were always red. But there were games as well. There were Electro Mechanical games. I always remember, and I think it was called Demon Driver, and I've spoken of this game before, where you've got a belt going round with like the road painted on it and cars painted on it, and you controlled this plastic car that you slid from side to side, and a light would light up to simulate an explosion with a plastic overlay thing on it. It was really naff. You can see that game in, I'm sure it's in one of the George Romero zombie films. Yes, I think it's in Dawn of the Dead, the remake. It's definitely in something fairly recent. Anyway, yeah, there was another electromechanical game. There is a video of it on YouTube. It's somewhere in my favourites. I should have dug into that and had a look first. Can't remember what it's called, but basically, in this thing you've got like a diorama, and there are these tanks or rocket launchers or whatever on the ground, and then coming over these planes that are animated somehow. I remember this is no TV screens or anything, and they're using like mirrors and lights and God knows what. And you press you time it and press the fire button and aim and stuff, and this light goes up and supposedly hits the planes. I remember playing that, being very impressed by it, and that's what games were like back then. Question 2. Have you ever repeatedly gone somewhere odd or unusual just because they had arcade games, or an arcade game, a specific arcade game? There are 2 places that I went that were a bit odd. The first was a laundrette in Toaster. That's not a cool place for kids to hang out. You just don't. But they had a Pong machine. And I mean, this was when Pong was really new. And I would pester my mum, can we go to the laundrette? You can't imagine many kids doing that, especially not now. Just because they had this Pong machine and I wanted to play it. The other was, there was this cafe in Stony Stratford, and I can't remember what it was called. It's well, the last I saw it's a fried chicken place now, but back then it was a little cafe, and they did a really good banana milkshake, and I would just go in there, buy a banana milkshake, and spend hours playing on their Space Invaders machine, because it was the nearest Space Invaders machine to where I lived. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have gone to that place at all. Cafes, not my thing. Milkshake's nice, but I wouldn't normally pay for one. But it was like, they were a bit funny if you just went in there to play the game. So you had to buy something, and then you could play the game. So I did. 3. Where was your favourite old school arcade, and what was it like? So yeah, there are arcades that are still out there now, but back in the day, where was your favourite arcade, and describe it? Mine was, I've mentioned this place before, the Agora. It's now a crappy indoor market, just lousy. But back then, they still did the indoor market, but at night time they had roller skating. They would clear the main market floor, and they'd have like a DJ and funky lighting, and you would go there roller skating, which I did. I can roller skate. But they had an arcade there. In fact, they had two. They had one upstairs and one downstairs. But I really liked the one downstairs. It was in an enclosed little area separate from the rest of the skating thing. And it was dark, and it was smoky, and it was seedy. All the bad things that you hear about arcades back in the day. You would have older kids bugging the younger kids, you know, let me play your last life for you, which was bloody annoying. I mean, you'd get an amount of bullying, you know, some kids would bully other kids off of the machine and steal their lives. It was that kind of place, but it was great. That was part of what arcades were like. And the machines, I mean, it was Space Invaders, Galaxian, Battlezone, Atari Star Wars. When they got Atari Star Wars in there would be a crowd around it. People would just stand there and watch the attract mode, you know, demo mode, when no one was playing it. Most of the kids didn't have any money, so they'd just stand there and watch it in demo mode because it was so great. But yeah, it was noisy because there was the music outside from the skating, and then the volume on the arcade machines themselves was cranked right up. So it was noisy, it was smelly, it was crowded, it was fantastic. And you don't get that in modern arcades. They're all clean and well maintained and empty, really. They're just, there's no atmosphere in a modern arcade. Yeah, I miss that place. So, Fall. Do you know of any good arcades that are still running? There are no arcades around here, which is a damn shame, really. Maybe just as well, because I skint all the time. It wouldn't be wise to be putting money into arcade games. But of ones that I know that are probably still there, I can think of 3 arcades. Totally ignoring all the ones in Scarborough, because they're all slot machines now. I mean, I'm talking arcades with arcade games, not slot machines, because slot machines are just not interested. There is there was when I lived there, and I suppose it's still there, a fairly big arcade in Milton Keynes, in the Escape, that had a lot of fairly modern arcade games. The atmosphere was a bit, there was a lot of stuff, it was quite big, but a lot of it as well was these machines, you know, play and get prizes, except the prizes are these little paper tickets, and you had to have like billions of them to win a teddy bear. I don't like those things, I think they're crap. So that's one, that's probably the biggest arcade I'm aware of at the moment. There was, when, a couple of years ago, we went to Blackpool, and at the very end of the Pleasure Beach, or of the Golden Mile, just past the Pleasure Beach bit, you know, that roller coastery bit, right on the end there was an arcade there, and I mean, it was old school, it was classic stuff. I played Space Invaders in there. They had Outrun, they had Street Fighter 2. I don't remember a lot of what else they had, but there was a lot of classic stuff in there. I don't know if it's still there, but it was pretty cool. I was there in the daytime, so there wasn't an awful lot of atmosphere, but I liked what I saw. Don't know if it's still like that now, because obviously these things change quite rapidly. The arcade I went in most recently, which was mostly slot machines, but down the far end it was good because it had some arcade games, is in Worthing on the Lido, whatever. It's not exactly a pier, but it's like an amusement area. So yeah, Chipsters, James may know about this one. It was almost like the arcade games in there were almost all Sega. It was full of Model 2 arcade machines. There was definitely Sega Rally. And in that Sega Rally, to me, well, not to me, it just seems to be the most popular arcade game that is still out there, still running. You pull up in some motorway services or a cinema somewhere, and they invariably have at least a couple of arcade games, and one of them is always Sega Rally. And they're in good shape. I mean, are they still making it, or are people just maintaining these things really well? So yeah, this place in Worthing, they had Sega Rally, they had one of the House of the Dead games. I think they had Virtua Fighter, but I'm not sure. But it was all Sega, and all the Model 2 stuff. I was quite impressed. But yeah, if you're ever in Worthing, I would recommend checking that out. So there it is. It's only 4 questions. I couldn't think of a 5th one. Make up your own. That is my open arcade tag. By all means, respond to that. Video responses would be cool. Yeah. Okay, shout out time, because I do have a shout out. Normally I do 2 topics, but I think this tag is big enough. I am going to do a shout out now, so bear with me. Here we go then. Now I'm going to probably make an ass of myself by pronouncing his name wrong. My apologies if this is pronounced wrong. KetilsGEEKTV. Is it pronounced Ketils? Ketils? I'm going to say Ketils because that's how it looks to me. Yes, KetilsGEEKTV. I've been subscribed to him for a little while. I'm not sure how long exactly, but he is from Norway. I have a liking for Norway. Never been there, but what I know of it, I like. It's mostly war history. But anyway, his channel is cool. I actually really started paying attention yesterday, day before. I've been subscribed a while, but he doesn't put out videos very often, but what he does put out is really good, and the one that really grabbed my attention was his most recent video, which is about unreleased computers. Now, he has really done his research and talks about and goes into details of old computers. Yes, old computers that were like, they got to the planning stage, they possibly even got to the prototype stage, but were then never released. And it's a really good video. He's really done his research. The details and information are spot on. The editing is great, as you can see here. He's good with his editing, and I found it really enjoyable, and I totally recommend going along and having a watch. He's got another video along very similar lines, unreleased consoles, that he did a couple of months ago, and then another one here, an Amiga tag. He does retrospectives, looking at older machines, one on the Atari XEGS, he's got one on the, well, he's got 2 in fact, on 2 parts for the CD32. Highly recommended viewing. KetilsGEEKTV. Feel free to kick me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Yes, do Ketils, do more videos. I'm liking what you're doing here. Do more. Okay, there we go. Right then, ordinarily I would have closing comments here, but I haven't got any. No, actually, as you will know, I've been doing an Amiga series. I'm going to continue doing the Amiga series, but I am going to slot in videos from other systems as well. Not because I'm getting bored of working on the Amiga by any means. I love it and I'm loving the games on it. But I have also been picking up PS1 games, and I've got a few of those that I want to show you. And I've also got some working on my Enterprise 64. I've got my head around a piece of software that will convert the disk files I've got and put them in a tape format, and then I can play them out and load them into my Enterprise 64, and it works, some of them. And that's been proving to be quite fun and interesting, so I'm going to show you some of them as well. Whether that means you get Amiga one day and something else the next, or 2 videos in one day, remains to be seen. It would be nice to be able to do 2 a day, but I have so much other stuff that I need to do that isn't YouTube related. I may not have time to do it that way. We'll see. Anyway, expect a little bit more variety, perhaps. But I am keeping up with the Amiga stuff. I have noticed, actually, from 1 or 2 comments, that you're not all aware that I did some other Amiga stuff, probably about a year ago. I have playlists on my channel. Check out the playlists. There is an Amiga playlist. If you go to the earlier stuff on that, you will see Amiga games that haven't been in this recent series that I'm doing. This series I'm doing right now is mostly stuff that I obtained recently, either was given or have downloaded. But the earlier ones in that playlist are games that I've had for years, and the ones that I could actually get working because I didn't need passwords or whatever. There is stuff like Alien Breed 3D2 and Knights of the Sky and Jeff Crammond's Formula 1 Grand Prix, to name a few. Check that out if you're at all interested. Yeah, just because I think you're not all aware of it. Look, check out the playlists, you'll see. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, thank you for watching. This and videos of other retro games in my collection and a video of my console and computer collection can be found on my YouTube channel, along with a link to my website retrogamingcollector.com, so take a look at that if you've got nothing better to do. Thank you for watching.